to a belated edition of Off the Record. We're running a little late tonight. Howie, something you know a lot about. I had a beginning band concert tonight.
Yeah, yeah. Family comes first always, especially
Yeah.
with it being our first concert. You sure don't want to miss that.
They did great. They had a little fall one, but they really didn't know how to play their instruments. They really kind of played music tonight. Our buddy, our old friend Jeremy Johnson, going to be joining us here shortly. But on Off the Record tonight, we're going to talk little AEW, a little controversy with the WWE, and we're going to talk about a living legend coming back to the ring one more time.
A little bit of Jim Crockett promotion. Who would have thought we'd been talking about that in 2022?
Not me, not me. I'm worried about it, and I'm going to say my piece here in a few minutes when Jeremy gets on. But I'm not completely sure I'm comfortable with this. So we'll see. Um, I don't want to get into it yet, but let's just say, "Woo!" is coming back. All right, let's get. There's our boy. Perfect time. We've been waiting on you, my friend.
Hey, sorry about that, guys.
Oh,
I
you
just
found.
I was playing with the grandbaby and I saw the text. I was like, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah, well, I was listening to the 6-year-old play Queen till about 5 minutes ago. So
Yeah.
it was a fun night over at the Cunningham house. I just broke my. I just hold on. When I picked that up to bring you on, I done
I'm
my.
glad I'm not the only one.
I done broke my. I done broke my. I done broke my stuff. All right, Jeremy. We've been waiting on you to discuss this.
Yeah.
July 31st, I believe it is. Part of StarCast.
Yeah.
73-year-old. Woo, woo, Nature Boy Ric Flair plans to wrestle another match. Now, what originally was leaked in the press, what it would be Flair and FTR versus Steamboat and the Rock and Roll Express. Since then, Steamboat has stepped out, said he wasn't going to be part of it. What was your gut reaction? We'll start with you, Jeremy, when you heard Ric Flair to wrestle again.
Well, just to be quite honest with you, uh, no surprise. I really no surprise. Um, I knew he was working out.
The
I,
video
I
of him and Jay Lethal made its rounds a few weeks ago.
yeah, I knew he was working out. Let's just face it, and I am the biggest Ric Flair fan there is.
Woo!
I love him. I think he's awesome. But to me, he is a glory hog, or he wants that attention. That's just him, and that's fine. That's what makes him
That's who he
him.
is.
Yeah, that's who he is. And so it wasn't no surprise. I mean, gosh, I saw the guy deadlift 600 something pounds. I think that may have been before his illness, but I mean, it's no surprise.
All right, Howie. How do you feel about him actually getting back in the ring?
It's kind of like Jeremy said, he loves the spotlight and everything. I don't know if y'all heard the podcast today or I listened to it today. The big man,
Hmm.
Conrad, he said
Hmm.
he need money. He don't need nothing but
Right.
the glory. All he wants is the glory,
Hmm.
spotlight.
Yeah.
And to be the man, you got to be Ric Flair. And to be Ric Flair, you got to be the man and get the spotlight.
Hmm.
All right, guys. I'm going to throw a couple of proposals out there. We are going to talk about some other stuff here in a minute. I'm going to give you both a choice here. Let's say Ric Flair in a 6-man tag with FTR versus the Rock and Roll Express, and let's say it ends up being Sting or somebody that's from his past. Does that interest you more than Flair managing FTR, Tully Blanchard showing up with someone managing them after they left FTR, uh, maybe a six-man tag where Arn had brings a team into it? Was there an angle besides him getting into the ring that would have intrigued you more, Jeremy?
No, no, no. To me, it's going to be the spectacle of seeing a 73-year. Now let's just be clear though. This guy, he is a freak of nature. 73 years old. He has lived the life. I mean, he has drank every night, stayed up all night, wrestled every day, been struck by lightning, been in a plane crash with a broke back, been almost dead. Listen, I, it's like a car crash. I don't want to take my eyes off of it. I want to see it. I want to see what he does. And I've seen Morton and Gibson work. They can still work. And the thing that excites the reason I think it's going to work, if it was him in a one-on-one match with somebody, no. But it's a six-man tag. So they're going to set this up perfectly so that you're going to have that moment with him and Ricky Morton. And he's not having to carry the load. You got FTR, who, in my opinion, are two of the best wrestlers, workers there are. So no, nothing. I want to see it.
Well, let's just make it clear, too, Howie. Jerry Lawler still is an active competitor at 72, and not just one off. Jerry probably wrestles, I would say, 20 or 30 times a year. Bill Dundee just wrestled last weekend. Wow. Is 78 years old. Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson was still going around the country until a few months ago. Ricky Morton is 65 years old, which I did not realize until we started to record this. Yep. Flair's not the only guy doing this, Howie.
I don't remember the exact age, but didn't Bullet Bob Armstrong wrestle when he was
80?
Was he 80?
He was 80.
Yeah. It's entertaining. It's going to be entertaining. And I think that two people is going to come out smelling like roses on this, unless something happens to Flair. One, Flair's going to come out being like the new king of wrestling because he did a match at this age with everything had. Two, Conrad Thompson, because the last StarCast did not profit very well because a lot of people didn't show up. But with this happening, both of them could come out smelling like roses.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, is the Flair match the same night as SummerSlam, or is it a different night?
It's the night after. It's on Saturday night.
What's on Saturday?
Sorry, Sunday night. It's on Sunday.
Yeah. So
SummerSlam's on Saturday night.
Okay. So no competition from the WWE. And where's it being held? Do we know that?
It's at the Nashville Fairgrounds. So
seat 5,000 people.
Right.
Do you expect it to be sold out?
Yes.
Yes. I do.
No question. I mean, I'm going to say if you're not on there at 12 o'clock tomorrow clicking to buy the tickets, I'm going to say by 12:30 you won't have a ticket.
Have they announced
now
every other card yet?
So here's something. I don't want to interject here prematurely, but here's something I did learn. So StarCast, the tickets go on sale tomorrow, the 20th. So you can buy a single day, or you can buy the weekend pass with a band. It's the meet and greet and all that. I did learn this today, that the tickets for the actual wrestling match on Sunday will go on sale next Friday.
Okay.
As a separate, Yeah, I did hear that today. So it'll be treated separately, even though it's on the same weekend. It won't be a part of that Starcast weekend band like that ticket. So
Yeah, I heard the same thing today too. I thought both tickets went on sale tomorrow. But to answer your question, Randy, I haven't heard any more matches yet. But they said that they were going to try to announce some in the next couple of days.
yeah. So I did hear there would be 7 matches. So pretty interesting. It'll be a good card, I'm sure.
All right, so let's talk about nostalgia. For me, it being at Nashville Fairgrounds is a historical site. Goulas Welch Wrestling for years ran the fairgrounds. I grew up with the fairgrounds. I thought they would do it at the Municipal Auditorium, but it being at the fairgrounds even adds a little more to it, Jeremy.
Yeah. So nostalgia for sure. And I think that, yeah, Conrad, I think that's kind of his goal because the set's it's gonna be the Jim Crockett Promotions
Yeah,
set. It's actually gonna that match and that wrestling event is gonna be under that Jim Crockett Promotion banner. David,
JCP.
yeah, David Crockett is gonna be probably. I'm assuming I didn't hear, but I'm assuming Tony Schiavone will be joining David Crockett to call the matches, which those two were great. So
Do,
nostalgia for sure.
do
And
you think AEW was offered to be part of this on some level? I mean, FDR is AEW talent.
they'll AEW is going to have to sign off on some of this stuff if some of the
Hmm.
comes like FTR thing and all that. So and also if Tully's still under contract with AEW, he'll have to sign
Yep.
off. Four Horsemen is actually going to be there at Stark
Yep.
the night before.
Yep.
All
Yeah,
four will be on stage.
now, which four is it? The
All of them.
Wendell, Wendell
Well,
Horseman?
Yes.
yeah, I think well you throw JJ in there too, so there'll be 5 of them on stage. So
Of
that's pretty awesome.
what I saw was going to be a Luger's going to be there too.
Wow.
And of course, that's Arn Anderson, who has a major backstage role in AEW.
Hmm.
Tully Blanchard, that's on air talent in AEW. I don't know if y'all saw, I've been watching some of the dark. Tully actually has a new client in AEW after FDR fired him. So
Wow.
there's some stuff coming up there. All right. What would you like to see? I mean, I have an opinion. I've kind of let y'all talk. I'm going to give you my opinion a little bit here. The underneath card has got to be pretty good. You
Hmm.
can't just throw trash on there and it live up to the expectation to me. I think I would like to see a mix of younger and older talent maybe working together. Give me someone like classic, like let's think of somebody. Give me Jerry Lawler working on the card, but put him against somebody like Darby Allin or
Wow.
or something crazy, Uh, Jerry Lawler versus Dan Housing. I don't know. Uh, what do you think? What do you want to see?
I'm trying to think of some of the JCP people back in the day that still could actually do some wrestling.
Well,
Uh,
there's a few.
That
what I know Conrad and them has been in contact with uh, Nikita Koloff.
hmm.
They
Nikita is still young compared to these guys.
yeah, he
Yeah, yeah, he is.
long ago, and so he's got these connections that could possibly bring some of these people back. If nothing else, just for a promo.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
the only person I could think of that still, I mean, I do know, and we mentioned names that are still wrestling, but the last time, and things may have changed, but at one point, Jimmy Valiant was still wrestling. So as of a few years ago, so I think of him. I think of George South, uh, who
George
of
South would
course,
be a great one.
great wrestler. Of course, he never was a star really, but he was a I mean, he's a great wrestler, and he does a good job training people. But he was actually on NWA Power a few years ago. Wrestled a couple matches.
What if they brought somebody like Tessa Blanchard, Tully's daughter, that we haven't seen forever, in a one-off match? Tessa, yeah.
I'm in. uh, her little backstage and some of the stuff went on. I think it's really derailed her because I mean she is legit.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
Okay, as far as JCP people go, bringing people back, you got to feel like they're going to try to bring Baby Doll back.
Yeah.
Pro,
There you go.
pro.
Whether
Hey,
wrestles or not, she'll a promo or something. Just be a valet to walk somebody to the ring. Well, who
so,
better than to walk Ric Flair to the ring?
Well,
yeah.
I do think that George or Michael Houston, Jake the Snake Roberts' brother, is still
Sam
active.
Houston.
Sam
Yeah.
Houston.
Yeah.
I think he still wrestles every now and then. I was trying to think. There's somebody else that I'm blanking on. I mean, technically, you could get somebody that was really young in those early WCW days. DDP. He just worked not long ago.
Yeah.
So
I,
the one
I've
that
got it.
I wish I don't want him to wrestle. I wouldn't want him to wrestle, but the one that could just stick his head in and say hi, that would just bring the place down, would be if Harley Race could just be there in person.
Yeah. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I miss Harley.
Uh,
He was great. Terry Funk.
oh my gosh, Terry Funk. He'd still try.
Hey, do something.
Hey, what about? I've got another name, and of course they wouldn't wrestle. But when I think about 1986, which was 86, 87, 85, right in neighborhoods where I was really into the NWA. Uh, what about Jim Cornette as a? I, I mean, he cut a promo for sure.
I'd drive over there to see Jim Cornette before I would Ric Flair.
He's a heel.
Yeah, that would be awesome if they could get Cornette in there somehow. But y'all listen to the Cornette podcast, y'all know
Yes.
he's not going nowhere because he's stuck at Castle Cornette and he's not leaving that place.
Yep.
Rick and Scott Steiner. I'm looking at a
There you go.
list. They're somewhat still active.
What about bringing Teddy Long in as a referee?
Hey,
There you
dollar bill.
go.
If you could get him out of retirement, I don't think he would, but Booker T could work a match
Oh,
right now.
yeah.
I know the
Yeah.
WWE's offered him stuff just
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah, there's guys that have retired and been out for years, but they're still they're still in very good shape, and Booker T's one of them.
Would you be surprised to see Arn Anderson's son on the card somewhere?
Mm-mm.
No.
I
I
think
would.
that would be.
Yeah.
You know, all the connections that Conrad's got with AEW and everything, I really feel like you can expect some of their younger talent to be there,
Hmm.
doing some of this stuff to get them
Yeah.
some exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because like you said, 5,000 seats, and like Howie said, it's gonna sell out. I have no doubt about it. So that would be pretty cool. Um, to see a couple of those guys, get that opportunity right there. Brock is, he's almost the spitting image of Arn. He just has a little more hair. I don't think he's quite as big as Arn was in his prime, but wow. The first time I saw him give one of those spine busters, man, I was like, yes.
All right. Before we get away from this, I'm gonna throw one more thing out at y'all about this and see what you think. if it's done right, it's glorious. But what if something goes wrong? Is there something in the back of your head that goes, what if something goes wrong?
No, not for
They're going
me.
to take care of Flair at every turn, of course, are they not going
Well,
to?
I mean, let's be honest. Even in his prime, he wasn't executing any tope suicidas. So, I mean, and I listened to the podcast today, as Howie did, and he's trained. He's been training with John Cena's trainer at Hard Knocks, and they've set his limitations as far as, or set his, kind of his ceiling, so to speak, as far as his cardio and physical. I, they're not gonna do anything crazy. I mean, look, he's gonna go in there and he's gonna chop, he's gonna woo, he might throw a few punches, and he's gonna apply figure four somewhere. I mean, that's
The
it.
key to it is you're saying they. You control Ric Flair. You don't know what Ric Flair is going to do.
That's true. When you're true. No one has been able to control it.
Man that's 70 something years old that's got a pacemaker that's wanting to get in there and wrestle.
Mm.
And once the blood gets to flowing and 5,000 people wooing and all that, you never know what to do.
He'll get a shot of adrenaline, man. Oh man.
How about Jay Lethal doing his Ric Flair somewhere that night?
Oh, that's got to happen, man. Hey, look, to this day, and I missed out on a lot of wrestling, back in the 90s and stuff, but for my entire wrestling viewing experience, that segment with him and Flair in TNA is the best segment I've ever seen in wrestling. I laughed uncontrollably.
You can't do me. You can't do me.
I think Flair said the other day that was impromptu. It wasn't really supposed to happen that way.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that from him and from Lethal, that he was scared because he came up to him and said, "All right, I want to hear it, kid," and he was afraid, he considered it disrespectful. Of course, he loved it, and that's what spurred all that on, for them to use it. Wow. I laughed just thinking about it.
All right, Randall, you had issues with kind of what's going to happen, so let's hear your part of it.
Have either one of you ever seen the movie The Wrestler?
Yes.
I feel like I'm living the freaking Wrestler right now. It is, and I guess my concern is what I've heard from some of his family. I think Charlotte has been the most vocal person against this. And it's almost like, okay, who's really got his best interest?
Mm-hmm.
If you tell me he can go in here, I love Conrad, don't get me wrong, but without Conrad Thompson, this ain't happening.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, his daughter is very against this. So you've got Conrad, his son-in-law, versus his daughter, and I just hope it don't cause a conflict in the family.
Sure.
I hope it's done good enough. I don't find it strange. He got divorced. He started running around the country with a 30-year-old woman. He decides he's going to do one more match. Leaves his wife. Hell, this is Ric Flair 1985. I don't know what I'm talking about.
The nature boy.
I read something today where Conrad was kind of against it as well.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, it's because Conrad. Then on the flip side, I also heard that Conrad was kind of Rick.
I've read one article that said Conrad said in private he was going to do it either way. And at least this way, it's controlled.
Yeah. Right.
So my fear is he takes off, and the next thing we hear, he's in Saudi Arabia trying to go 60 minutes because he's
No.
crazy enough to do it.
The thing that I guess, you have folks, it's like, oh, this is pitiful. Well, number one, I'm glad that he doesn't need the money, right? I'm glad he's not out there
I'm
still
glad to
trying to
hear
do this
that
for the money.
because
Yes.
a few years ago, Jeremy, he did.
Yeah. Yeah, and any of the guys, any of these guys, it bothers me, that they're having to go out and do that. Now, a lot of it's their own fault. But the other thing is for him to be, to have died and had to fit. I mean, to me, I'm looking at it as maybe it's a goal for himself that he's just trying to overcome. You know what I mean? To just
Yeah,
prove that,
well,
hey, I overcome.
Lawler died on air.
He did. Yeah, and I was watching that night. Yeah. So,
I just want him to be safe, Jeremy. That's all I
yeah.
want.
Oh God, yeah. I
Stay
mean,
out of safe.
I've already told people at work that if something happens to Ric Flair, I got at least 3 days bereavement. I mean,
That's a good one.
I don't want to have to use it. I want him. Heck, the way he's going, he may outlive us all.
It could.
But you got to realize Ric Flair is going to be the envy of all former professional athletes being able to go back and do that thing one more time that he wants to do, that all athletes wants to do.
Yeah.
And
Anybody.
yeah,
Heck, I'd
Michael
like to be
Jordan
able
will start for shooting guard for the Chicago Bulls tomorrow.
yeah.
Heck, I'd like to be able to do some of the things I did 15, 20 years ago.
I'd like to just wear the pants I did last time. There's about 8 inches of stomach that I couldn't get across that I did last time Flair wrestled.
Hmm.
Hey, before we get off the subject, I want to say something too about somebody that was in the Horseman with Flair. If you're a man of faith, and I love Jesus, I may cuss a little, but I love him. Throw out a prayer for Steve McMichael.
Yeah.
Mongo his body needs to die because his heart and mind already has. So
Yeah.
he's in pitiful shape, folks. And if you haven't seen it, I don't think I'd tell you to go look at the pictures. I didn't. I accidentally clicked on one. I didn't know who he
Yeah.
was. It's bad, Jeremy.
It's hard to see. I've seen some footage or seen some pictures, and it really is because I mean I don't remember McMichael in the ring because that was that kind of in the period where
But
I've
God, he's a football beast.
gosh, on the football field though. Oh my God. Yeah. So it really is. It's hard to see that.
It
But
is.
he surely does.
It is tough. All right, guys. I didn't mean to bring us down, but I want to switch gears, and I am still torn on the Flair thing. We might have to do another show. I'm still emotionally processing it, boys. I don't. Hey,
Yeah.
look. I'm gonna take the time to tell one Ric Flair story. When we were working, I got a job through a guy named Todd. Todd was a student over at UTC, and he knew Doug Dillinger, who was the head of security for WCW. And Todd got me hooked up where I could work shows. And I would work backstage, and I'd get to go in. I got to roll around the ring with a few of them.
Nice.
So, uh, one night here in Chattanooga, the rule was if you were there, a lot of times the guys would send you to the store and you would buy beer for them. That was part of your job. Well, Flair one night, he gets me, and I'm first off, I'm talking to Ric Flair. You can imagine how I'm acting. I mean, if he had probably told me to join the Ric Flair Kiss My Butt Club, I would have. Flair hands me a 50, says he wants a 6-pack of Mick Ultra, which at the time was probably one of the most expensive beers. So I went to the store, bought a 6-pack with his $50, and the rule was you put the change inside the bag because I didn't want to deal with you handing them change. So I had Flair something to drink. We lost Jeremy. Jeremy, you still there?
I am.
And I came back and I gave it to Flair, And he looked up at me. He reached in the six pack, took one beer out, handed me the $43 and the other 5 beers back, and said, "Thank you." That was Ric Flair, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If the kids that would be working would be fighting at the door when Flair come in, because you knew if you were one lucky enough to get to carry his bag, you're just gonna get a $20 bill. You know,
Yeah.
you carry somebody else's bag, you'd get a grunt, put it down over there, nothing. If you got Flair's bag, $20. I remember one night he bought everybody backstage food. Like there's no catering. And he sent somebody out and bought everybody in the backstage food. It wasn't the best food, but it's what he could get at 11 o'clock at night. So
Mm-hmm.
Flair's
That's awesome.
Flair's a good guy, man. Great guy. I love you, Rick. Don't get killed in the ring, man.
Please, please, God, no.
Watch the wrestler. Don't come off the top row. We don't need another Randy the Ram.
So I
All
do
right.
want to say something about the wrestler, Randall. If I'm
Okay.
remembering correctly, we don't know what the end was.
No,
We don't know that Randy the Ram actually died. So
if,
so I just want to point that out.
if he didn't die, I wasted some tears in the movie theater. That's all I'm going to
I
say.
know I cried too.
The Guns N' Roses stripper was backstage waiting on him. All he had to do is not get killed. You're trying to make me
There,
cry now, aren't you, Jeremy?
there you go. I'm about to
Hey,
tear up right now.
Wasn't Ernest the Cat Miller good in that movie? He was the bad guy.
Yeah.
He was really, really good in that movie. All right. Now I'm going to deal with some stuff. Now I'm worried about Flair, but this has actually got my blood pressure up. I love pro wrestling, but I'm not going to be breaking any news, and I'm not going to be on Jim Cornette's podcast. Oh, this guy in Chattanooga was on there telling secrets. But folks, the results and the outcomes are predetermined. If you didn't know that, I'm sorry. Turn it off. Turn it off. Get it off.
Yeah.
So we have great athletes making thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars, that storms out of the backstage because they don't like the storyline. So the story breaking out of the WWE is Naomi and Sasha Banks were supposed to be part of a six-pack challenge to name the number one contender to Bianca Belair. The story is, and I don't know 100%, but it's been told several places, is Naomi was scheduled to win the six-pack challenge by beating Sasha Banks, and then Bianca Belair was going to beat Naomi. They felt like that disrespected the tag team titles. But hey, I saw Ricky Morton lose to Ric Flair in 1985 after a great match. The tag team champ don't beat the world champ. That don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Right.
Great match. But Ricky Morton ain't beating Ric Flair.
Mm-mm.
And supposedly now the WWE, the fellow performers are hot. And I'm hot because I love the business and I'm not a WWE guy. But you don't walk out and say, oh, I just didn't want to do the storyline. Because one, you expose everything that's even minutely still. How he saw me do it. I've walked into a show and I can make it as real as I want in my head still. But when you start doing what she done, it makes it a little less real to me. Yeah. Jeremy, what was your gut reaction when you heard this story?
A little surprised. I could see someone, saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm done. I want released. I'm not
Would have
down
been
with what's
okay with
going
that.
on." But to do it in the show during the show. Even I mean, look, it worked out. I love Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy walked out in the middle of a match.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hey,
which
and
hey, look, if you're gonna do it that way. I mean, at least there's entertainment value. We're just hearing stories. It would have been kind of cool to me if they just walked out mid match.
Gail
But
Kim did several years ago.
but I can see both. I can see the frustration. I can see how there'd be a frustration because I feel like Sasha Banks is as good a female wrestler as there is,
Uh,
and
Better than Bianca Belair, who is the Tennessee graduate who is supposed to be great. And I don't
yeah,
get her. I love Sasha Banks.
yeah, and Naomi, she's underrated in my opinion. But I just don't see. To me, it seems like this has been simmering, so to speak, for quite some time. I think I've in the past several years, you've heard of Sasha being not unhappy with creative or whatever you would call it. But I in my if I feel like I'm being underutilized or not being utilized correctly in the job that I have now, I'm either gonna get my head right to accept it and make it work, right? Or I'm gonna wait my contract out and say, hey, look, it's just not working for me. I think I need to move on.
I
And
agree.
I'm not doing it that way. That's no different than me, you, or Howie. Just middle of the day, walking out of our job saying, forget it.
Well, Howie walks
So
out of podcast all the times, but
yeah,
Howie and Jeremy, I'll get your input on this too. Ronda Rousey showed up and put everybody in the pecking order down one because it
Mhm.
is Ronda Rousey. Bianca Belair has passed Sasha Banks by. Uh, uh, there's somebody else. Who else am I missing? Bianca Belair.
Becky Lynch.
Becky Lynch is blown up to be the. And you know what? She's lost in creative right now. She's kind of lost
Okay.
her direction. So all those girls kind of passed her by. But but how isn't that the kind of project that Vince McMahon a year from now takes back and he gives her something in return and says, all right, you're going to beat Becky and Ronda in a three-way match and be the world
Yeah.
champion.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. He's done it in the past with
Hmm.
Sasha Banks because she's got upset
Yeah.
before and walked out and left.
Yeah.
I saw what the main event was going to be on Raw with it being the six-person match. And I saw Sasha and Naomi, and I'm thinking, why are the tag team champions in that match
Yeah.
for a title shot when they've already got tag titles?
Right.
Yeah.
It's to me it's strange. But with them walking out, hey, they're getting paid tons of money. Do it. Well, it's not going to hurt you. Go ahead,
Yeah.
do it. That's
Well,
just
one of the great example of that, Dustin Rhodes, Howie. He did some things as Goldust. I don't know if
right.
he was comfortable with, but he also needed to make a living for his family. I don't know if Sasha Banks needs the money like Goldust did at the time. Is it that they're so successful now they get a little spoiled?
Oh, absolutely. It's just like what we were talking last week on our Falcons draft show with Deion Jones signed the big contract and he hadn't done nothing since.
Right.
The wrestlers are the same way. They think they've got it so rough, but I've heard Ric Flair talk about wrestling Broadways 8 straight days, 9 or a
Yeah.
solid that. And sometimes doing it twice on Sundays at 2 different locations.
Hmm.
Got it back now. They should have done it back then.
There's so many
Well,
stories of Flair and Harley Race going night to night, 30 nights out of the row. I mean, they were the world champion, Jeremy.
hmm yeah, it was a whole different ball game back then. I think all of us. I think no matter what our field or whatever our vocation is, if we're not careful, I think we get complacent and
Yeah.
this could have been. I mean, maybe they got complacent, and maybe if you got the right mentality, you take this and say, okay, this is a wake up call here. You know what? I'm slacking. Because I believe of course, nobody else on this podcast has been a wrestler, but I believe if you're hungry and you're working on your craft and you're contributing to, I think you're going to have a place, and you're going to and you can get over. And
Yeah,
I've heard this, and y'all have heard this too. You can lose a match and still get over as long as you elicit some type of response from people, whether it's boos or cheers or both. That's good. The tough thing is if when you got crickets when you walk out.
that's
So
true.
I yeah, I don't know. This is a good time for them. I mean, she like Howie said, she's made a lot of money. Doesn't need the money.
Snoop
So
Dogg's cousin still.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I just know I wouldn't walk out of a job. I would work out a notice or negotiate a release, whatever.
Well, let me ask y'all this: did Vince bring this itself by bringing her back a few years ago when she done this once before?
Said a bad president.
Hmm. Yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
Did Sasha think, "Hey, I've done it before, and nothing will happen"? And
I hadn't thought about that.
with
Look,
being married to one of the Usos, well, they're
hmm
untouchable right now in the WWE.
yeah,
So he thinks, well, he's got my back, so we're good.
yeah.
I think you're right. I hadn't thought
I,
about that.
now you brought up something about the tag teams being in that match. Why even have belts if there's no real emphasis on those belts?
Right.
Why have if there's no emphasis on the U.S. title, why have it, or the Intercontinental, or the women's tag team? I mean, if you're not going to put any effort into developing storyline, setting up matches, uh, don't have it.
I
Don't
agree.
don't have it. It's just a way. It's more for you to have to, deal with. Just don't have them. I don't see why they couldn't have a viable storyline of some type, you know, going for these ladies. Because hey, look, every lady I have yet to watch a one of the ladies that work in the WWE just have a bad match. I have not. I've seen some that are, you know, but the other night I watched Rhonda and Raquel Rodriguez now, and I thought they both did great. I thought it was good. Good showing, and she's going to be the next one. I mean, they're going to push her, obviously, because she had a really good showing against Rhonda.
She's a big girl too.
Oh, yeah.
Big, beautiful girl.
Yes.
All right, guys. Before we go, with last 10 minutes or so, appreciate you jumping on here. I had not a lot prepared, and y'all have filled it in beautifully.
Hey, if you got me on, there's going to be something to talk about, buddy.
AEW's got a pay per view coming up, and I have been the biggest AEW proponent since day one. I am the original AEW guy. They've lost their way a little bit right now, Howie. They're kind of wandering in a lost land. They need to get some focus back on the storylines.
Yeah, it's been all over the place here lately. One
Yep.
minute you think you know what's going on, then all of a sudden you don't see nothing going on for that for a while.
Yeah.
Now, to my dismay or my bad credit, I don't watch the internet shows as much as I used to. So some of this stuff may be going on there, but I don't know if it
It,
is.
it it's disjointed a little bit right now.
Right. I know I saw Wardlow take a whipping last night like we saw Cody Rhodes did.
I know, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Jeremy, let me tell you why I think early on it was so good. They only had about 20, 25 wrestlers that could really go.
Hmm.
Now they got a locker room and they don't know what to do with them.
You know, they really need, I think a 3 hour Raw is too long for WWE. They have Raw, SmackDown, NXT. They actually need another show because if you think about it, I was just thinking about this the other day. You look at the guys that you see on Dynamite and on Rampage. Where's Miro? When's the last time we've seen Miro? You know, there's two. It's complex now because you have all these this talent and they're all good. So how do you do it? And I just they try to stick them all in factions, and Howie and I've talked about this. To me, there's too many factions. There's too many groups.
Well,
It's like, and it's them trying to get guys TV time is what it amounts to. And I just don't like all the factions, you know.
all right, Howie, Jeremy, I need y'all to get the camera ready to record this so you can send it to Jim Cornette. Because what I'm about to say would get me into Colt Cornette really fast. So y'all stay with me right here. All right, I'm gonna go back to this.
I already know what
I'm gonna,
you say, but go
I'm
ahead.
going. I'm going back to the show now.
Here we
Now
go.
watch this. I'm gonna pick up like we never missed nothing. Jeremy, I think part of the problem is I am so sick for 2.5 years of the young bucks putting themselves in every main event. With all this new talent they got, why don't the Bucks just step aside and be wrestling executives for a little while and let me see Red Dragon. Let me see Shane Swerve Strickland. I love the Bucks, but I've had enough Bucks. It's time to go on to the Chinese buffet. What do you think about that? All right, cut it off now, Jim. I love you, baby. All right, what do you think? We've run some of the original guys into the ground a little bit.
Yeah,
And
I'm
you
not a.
had to
Go
there.
ahead.
Yeah, you had to there at the first because they didn't have nobody else
Yeah.
really.
I agree.
Right. No, I agree with that also. I think what the first Dynamite I watched, Cody Law, he beat Sammy Guevara, but he made Sammy look good. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I don't know Sammy Guevara. But the Bucks Private Party, that was one of the first matches. They made those guys look good. But now no one, I can't stand them. I just don't like them. I just don't like the young Bucks, especially this new persona. I didn't like them before, but I don't like them at all. And I guess that's good because they're supposed to be heels.
But
But
but Kenny Omega left for almost a year now, and he was injured. And I'm ready for him to come back. I'm really ready to see Kenny Omega. The Bucks ain't never left. How can you miss somebody if you don't go away? You
yeah,
got to go away at some point. JC, that's another one of yours. How can I miss you unless you go away? And
yeah.
and right now we've had the Bucks on every Rampage, every Dynamite. Also, we've told this MJF story about 4 times now, exactly the same, down to the lashes across the back. Buddy, can we get a different storyline for MJF? Howie, did we not see this in Huntsville about 2 years ago?
We saw it in Huntsville 2 years ago. We watched it on TV last night. It's time to give MJF a belt. But the way MJF is doing business now, I don't know if he'll ever get a belt because of him threatening to go the Connecticut wrestling.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Look, he doesn't need a belt though. I mean, he really doesn't need it. This guy,
I don't think he needs it, but it'd be so
no,
entertaining to see him have it though.
it would because he is the best heel in wrestling, hands down. This guy, I mean, I love him, but I can't stand him either. And
If
now, and I want Wardlow to break him in half,
if
and so
yeah,
that's
there
the
you
way
go.
it ought to be. I want Wardlow to crush him,
At this
but
point,
he's not going to
what
do it. Most likely, he's not going to do it. He's not going to be able to.
If Wardlow beats him, he's an instant superstar. You have Wardlow on the Hulk Hogan rocket ship. If
Yep.
he beats him, he's the world championship for being over as anybody has in AEW a long time.
Yep.
All right, I don't want to miss out on this. I have been very entertained by the Owen Hart tournaments. We're down to the finals and semifinals, and I think we looked earlier. It's Adam Cole, who I think is doing a great job in AEW. He seems like such a better fit. The other side is Kyle O'Reilly and Samoa Joe. In the women's side, it's Chris Statlander and Ruby Soho and Red Velvet, and not Red Velvet. It's Britt Baker and
Red Velvet, you're right.
Britt Baker. Who's the girl from Australia that Britt Baker is going to wrestle?
Tony Storm.
Tommy Storm. They've done a lot of good with this Owen Hart. Yeah. Hey, both of them. I'll even throw one up for Chris Statlander since she got rid of being an alien.
Hey, she's a workout freak. I follow her on Instagram, and she posts her working out and stuff. Yeah, she's working hard.
They also forced Vince McMahon to give Bret Hart a bunch of money, so he won't show up to hand over the Owen Hart Award to whoever wins it. He signed a Leggington deal. Who do you want to see win this at the end of the day? Howie?
I think it's going to come down in the finals to Tony Storm against Ruby Soho, and Tony Storm will win it. I think she's going to be a big push, and I really expect her and Britt Baker to have a big feud before it's over with.
Yeah. How about on the men's side?
On the men's side, I think it's coming down to Samoa Joe and Adam Cole, and I think it's going to be Adam Cole winning to go for the title of CM Punk after he beats Hangman.
Boom. All right. Next question. Is CM Punk going to beat Hangman? Because I love Hangman. I love you, Hangman. But your championship run has been stale. Got to change some stuff up, don't we, in AEW? And, hey, I don't want good guy CM Punk to win it. I want bad guy CM Punk to Punk to win this thing. Howie, so you think it's CM Punk over Adam Cole? I mean, Hangman Adam Page?
I think so.
How about you too, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think the same way. I'm like you, Hangman. I just, well, to me, he doesn't wrestle that much, which I get that. But on Dynamite or on the air, but I just don't get the a millennial cowboy thing. The pay-per-view, he drives in with a Tesla with horns on the front of it, and he's wearing cowboy boots, but his blue jeans are peg-legged and they won't fit over the top. If you're gonna be a cowboy, be a cowboy.
Be Stan Hansen.
That's right. Come out with a bull. Yeah. But I like him. He's great. I've said that his matches have been phenomenal, but something about the champion it's missing. So
right. Fair enough.
Is he the most irrelevant champion that has ever been in wrestling?
No, because that Indian guy had the WWE title forever.
Oh, hey, what's wrong? Jinder Mahal, I liked him. What? No, here, I'll give you one. And this is it. And you will agree with me. Ronnie Garvin. Ronnie Garvin was the most irrelevant champion there was.
Jinder Mahal.
Jinder Mahal.
All right. I got one last subject of the night. Last subject of the night. I can't believe we talked an hour. I can do this all night. By the way, I think I am going to get the pay-per-view if we want to get together for it. So I've been debating on it.
Yeah.
I tell you what I think is missing from AEW, and I think all the factions has been built to support this. And I am a New Japan guy, and I do like the factions, but the factions fight, and that's lost. It's war. It's like faction versus faction war. And it is mainly over the never open weight 6-man championship, where you see a lot of the faction stuff over there. So today, Tony Khan says they've been a trios championship built for a long time, and they just haven't found the right place to use it. I think that would bring so much. Look, my favorite title, other than the NWA World Heavyweight Champion when Ric Flair and Harley Race and Dusty had it, was the World Six-Man title in World Class Championship Wrestling, where the greatest six-man feud in the history of the world happened, the Von Erichs versus the Freebirds. I think you could recapture a little bit of that magic with all these factions. You give me House of Black versus Death Triangle or Super Elite versus the Elite. I think that would hold my attention, Jeremy. How about you?
No, yeah, it would give them a point or an end goal, so to speak.
Of
Some
having
of this,
73 factions.
yeah, that well, like you mentioned, Death Triangle and House of Black. So Death Triangle's been in and out. They reintroduce them, and I know some of it's been due to injury and all that. And then you have the the Varsity Blondes and that thing going on with the House of Black, and it's just too much. It's like it's disjointed. I think if you had a six-man belt and that you got all this talent, that you could put some really awesome six-man teams together if
You
they're not
give something
already.
for them to fight for. You're fighting
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
In Japan, New Japan Wrestling, that never open weight six-man tag team championship is probably more prestigiously defended than the tag team championship.
That's a great idea.
All right, Howie. You're not usually the six-man guy. Would you like that in AEW?
No,
I knew that was coming.
Come on, Howie.
too many people in the ring. I'm sorry. Tag team matches okay, but trios matches, six man. No, it's just I'm a simple person. I can't keep up with that many people.
Hey,
Yeah, but Howie,
let me tell you what Howie's worst nightmare was when ECW brought out three-way dances.
Yeah,
but Howie, they're putting trios matches together all every week anyway. Why not have a belt for
yeah.
so that there's a dispute,
That,
something to.
I'm helping them out by recording the show every night, and I fast forward through most of those six man tags or trio matches because it's just too chaotic for me. I'm sorry. I'm kind of old school. You got the 5 count to get out and all this stuff. You shouldn't be in the ring with 2 people or 8 people or whatever. So,
You want a battle royal? Would that be less chaotic?
yeah, ring time, majority of the time. Yeah.
Royal Rumble's not chaotic at all. Hey,
Love it.
before we get off last subject, I was all for them breaking up Jericho and the Inner Circle, but all they did was break them up and put them in a worse faction. I don't even know who these guys are he's in a faction with anymore.
Please don't get me started. Golly bum.
I was like, I watched it and I was like, well, I know that's Daniel Garcia, but I don't know who those other two guys are. So I'm just going to keep flipping.
Hey, man,
Could-
Jeremy had a whole text conversation about this the other day about Jericho and all the new names he had.
Yeah, he's the wizard now. He was the champion. He was the demo god. Look,
The
I don't.
limit of the bubbly.
I want to say one thing, and I'll hush because I can't stand that faction. These guys that nobody knows. Look, the only thing they've got going for them right now is the intro. the the Jericho Appreciation Society for 10 weeks, the symbol of excellence in sports entertainment. That's the only thing I love. I pop when I hear that. But
Yeah.
those guys,
Hey,
I could care less, man.
I like Hager's so bad on the mic they don't even take him out. They just move him over to the next one. It's like, hey, in that Jake Hager, wasn't he in the other one? Huh?
I
All
thought,
right, guys.
oh, never
I
mind.
Jeremy today that instead of Jericho being the man of 1,000 holes, he'll be a man of 1,000 names for it.
That's right. That's right.
That guy's got like a chameleon. Well,
Ugh,
Jeremy, man, I'm glad you joined us. We keep this up about once a month. We may have something going before it's over with. Hey,
shoot, yeah.
Jim Cornette, the Young Bucks. I'm with you right now. I'm burnt out on the Young Bucks.
I'm gonna make sure I get that message to Jim Cornette on Twitter.
Oh, I love the Young
There,
Bucks
so,
when they first come to America. I was like, oh, you got to
mm,
see the Young Bucks. They're the new Rock and Roll Express.
mm, mm.
And they
Never
still
have.
there ain't what they do, but dang, I've seen it, boys. Let's do something else.
I didn't like them. I didn't like them in TNA when they were Generation Me. I certainly didn't like them then. I don't like them now.
Sorry, guys. If you see one Young Bucks match, you saw them all. They do the exact same stuff week in, week out.
Yeah.
For Randall Cunningham, a member of the cult of Cornette, bring back the Midnight Express. Good night. Jeremy Johnson. I was about to call you Jeremy Harris, my other friend. Howie Cheney, Randall Cunningham, you're off the record. And we've had a good time. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.